Okay. So in this video, your boy has got himself a new toy. And from the back of it, you're probably just thinking like, oh, it's just another basic, just generic laptop. But this is the XPS 15. And I'm gonna tell you all about my new video editing laptop and whether or not you should invest in it. Should you consider a remote video editing laptop so you can go on the go? Should you invest in a PC or a MacBook for editing? Or is this even worth investing in? Stay tuned. So to start off with the sexy bare bones basics of what this XPS 15 has to offer, you have to understand the different models. There's the XPS 13, the 15, and the 17, and they're all relevant to the actual screen size. And for me, since my old previous laptop was the ROG Asus 553 VE, this huge monster, going to the XPS 15 for me was definitely a huge upgrade. So right off the bat, has an i7 9th gen processor. You got 32 gigs of RAM, as well as you have 1 terabyte SSD, as well on top of that as NVIDIA GTX 1650, as well as your basic Intel display. And the monitor, there's different monitors that you can get with this model. There is the 4K, the OLED, but I decided to get just your standard 1080p display. And overall, I really love this laptop so far. As you can see, how thin that is, right? Super light. And if you guys don't know me yet, I'm all about being on the go, super light, being compact, and the best bang for the buck, and this is a powerhouse. So let's get into exactly why do I like it so much and whether or not you should consider it. So I myself, I am not a super techie or a computer person, but if you haven't found this channel yet, I am definitely a video content creator, and this is rumored to be the best content creation machine. So I'm gonna completely be talking about these points from a video editor, videographer, photographer, graphic designer, any type of heavy CPU usage program. Why I picked this guy was that it has an i7 with the 9th gen processor, meaning if chances are if your computer has an i7, it can run things like Adobe Premiere without a problem. It can run Lightroom, Photoshop. On top of that, it has 32 gigs so I can multitask. And for me, being able to render high speeds, playing back 4K files, and constantly while being able to multitask, like going through emails, listening to Spotify, is a video editor's dream or heaven. So for little demonstration purposes, I do have a 4K file right here. It is actually 4K. I'm not trying to pull any magic tricks here. Complete 4K. Dropped it into my Adobe Premiere timeline. And as you can see right there, full quality playback, right? Let's see how this does without having it plugged in. Is a little choppy, but I do assume that because I don't have it plugged into the AC, but look at that. Compared to my other laptop where I tried this before, it was not pretty when I tried to play a 4K in full resolution. This is at half resolution. This is at a quarter resolution. And as you can see here, the fans have also activated, but the fans on this computer compared to my gaming laptop, it does get loud when you render, but it's not that loud. And here it is at 1/8 resolution. Ultimately, if you did want to not use proxies, you can probably edit 4K timelines on this, no problem. Of course, it has to be on like 8 quality resolution if you're planning to add things like adjustment layers and color grading as well. Yeah, but this is a 4K file playing on this XPS 15, and as you can see, no problems with playback at all. And so far with this laptop, I've been able to edit 4K files on full quality playback. Of course, if you add your adjustment layers, your effects, or anything more graphic heavy, of course it's going to be a little choppy. But for a laptop that can play back raw full 4K files without a problem through playback, obviously not editing, but just playing it back, that is already, I'm like, oh my god, this is a pretty good computer so far. Another thing when it comes to content creation at laptops is that eventually I want to not always be stuck at home. So I want to be able to like go to a coffee shop, be able to take this if I travel, and be able to do full client videos on this laptop. And one of the things that it boasts about is its battery life. Although I think it is a little exaggerated where people are like, yeah, I can get 8 hours on this laptop. For me, being a professional procrastinator, having things like multiple tabs open, having Spotify, making like little edits, this laptop was able to last me from 4 to 6 hours with light news like browsing, and roughly around 2 to 3 hours if you're editing an intensive 4K Premiere file. On top of that, doing replacements with After Effects and potentially even opening up Photoshop. That itself is a lot of CPU usage, so you're looking around 2 to maybe 2.5, 3 hours if you're putting it on battery saving mode. So compared to my previous laptop, where essentially this guy has the same specs, but I'd be lucky if I can edit 1.5 hours on this before it completely dies. So for me, this is like a whole new world for me. And there's a little things that I want to touch upon is battery life, right? I want to get the best news for the best battery. So the reason why I opted for the 1080p display is because yes, it was the only one available, but also having something like a 4K OLED screen, you can also run into things like having images burn into your screen over long terms of news, as well as killing your battery, because this battery, the XPS 15 has 500 nits of light. So you can see here, this is hella bright, right? As well as I got the i7 9th gen model is because XPS, the ones with the i9s instead of the i7s, are known to be thermal throttling. And what that means is when the computer gets too hot, it's going to lower its overall CPU usage. So you're not going to get the fastest rendering or the most bang for your buck in that processor, but you're already paying X amount more. And from other tests that I've seen, people who have the i9, the processor isn't that much faster compared to the i7. So if you're anything like in my case, a video content creator, and you plan to use this for long term, you're much better off getting the i7, so you don't have to worry about thermal throttling and overheat, because this does get pretty warm when you're editing. So imagine this being an i9, packing an i9 into this thin guy, right? And if you do have the budget, I would much have you invest in the XPS 15, because this is the 2019 model. They just came out with the 2020 model a couple months ago. Exact same specs, but with an i7 10th generation. So you'll probably see a little bit more of a speed and overall performance, right? So the next part is I'm gonna talk about is what I don't like about this laptop. So overall, what I don't like, because I might be a little spoiled, because if you can't hear, is that even though this guy, my original laptop, link is in the description if you want to check it out, as well as see my initial review on it, is that it has your standard really deep keyboard, right? Got that kind of gaming kind of feel to it, because it is a gaming laptop, as well as your direction keys and a number pad. right? And as well as RGB lighting, just for that little touch of nerdiness. But on this guy, the XPS 15, the keys itself, they're not really shallow. I mean, they're too shallow, and there isn't enough like feedback. And I'm still getting used to it, but I think over time I'll get used to it. But the keyboard itself isn't the best when it comes to you're having a mechanical keyboard, and there is no number pad as well if that bothers you. And the arrow keys, you can see here, they're very tiny, so I'm still getting used to that. And my last gripe about this laptop is the webcam quality. It looks like I'm a potato filming it, but at the same time, if you can see how small this bezel is, to be able to fit a webcam in there is pretty impressive. So when I do client meetings, it is a little bothersome because you can't really see yourself super clear. Think of it as a 2 megapixel. I don't even know what megapixel, but it just looks not that great, but it gets the job done. And I like the fact that they moved from the bottom to the top of the screen webcam of where it's supposed to be. And I almost forgot, of course, it has 2 USB. I did wish it had one more USB on the left side, but it does have an SD card slot, and that is crucial. I don't know why people are getting rid of it nowadays, but if you're looking for a laptop, it better have an SD or multimedia slot for your easy transfer from your camera to your laptop. So yeah, almost forgot, but that's super important when it comes to your buying decisions. So my overall final thoughts on this XPS 15th i7 9th gen is that this is the best money that you can be spent on for this guy, for any video creator. If you're not in the MacBook realm, I myself am a true diehard PC person, and I'll probably stay that way, and this is the best that you can get. Would I recommend this? Hell yeah. And even if you have the budget, I would recommend getting the newer version, link is in the description, as well as getting the one with the i7 with the 10th generation. Don't really consider getting the i9 because I've heard a lot of things like thermal and like heating issues, and yes, there's workarounds with it, but the whole point of getting a laptop is you buy it and it's a grab and go. It's not a, I'm gonna do some little, I'm put thermal paste on it. Yeah, right. And as well, you can also get the XPS 15 complete specced out with 64 gigs. You got a 2060 i7, i9, but you're better off spending that money on camera gear and other accessories. And for me, this is gonna be my new baby for the next while. I'm gonna treat it with lots of love, and I'm gonna be editing on it with this video. And to overall, people are always like, what's the best laptop? This guy right here, XPS 15, gets my approval. Not sponsored. I've used it now for a month before I actually like made this video because I want to give you guys my honest opinion on it. And so far, comparing to my previous laptop, this is a huge upgrade. There's little things like, yes, it doesn't have it'd be nice if you put like a second drive in here. But overall, battery life, video editing, I've run things like Premiere and After Effects continuously back and forth with my workflow. No problems. Originally, there were some issues with closing and not putting this computer to sleep properly, but I have not had no blue screens of death yet, which is notorious for PC and Adobe. Once I updated all my BIOS updates and my firmware, no issues. I still have my 1-year warranty underneath it, and yeah, it's my new editing laptop. I'm welcoming it to the family. I'm telling you guys about it, and links in the description if you want to check out my old video editing laptop, what you should consider. And if you're looking for budget laptops, there's definitely out there, but when it comes to having your workstation, you don't want to limit yourself, right? You want to spend the best money so you can have faster editing times and freeing up your time, because that is the most important. So yeah, that's my review of it. Links in the description if you want to check it out, as well as getting my free camera guide. You can check that out for all your equipment. My name's Peter. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective, where we all start with nothing, but you can always create something.